Baby, we need to talk. So, yeah, I watched a video today, by a video by Richard Brennan, that I don't remember the name of. Something about like when the narcissist finally collapses. I'm planning to link it in the description of the video. And even though the video wasn't about the thing I'm thinking about, um, and like I'm having an insight about, I still had my insight about my narcissistic ex-friend. I'm picking up the topic because like it was a big insight. I'm doing great. I don't fucking care anymore. I realized a lot of things after the last time I decided to talk about it. I discovered some fucking wild lies. Um, Not that I discovered it, I understood that they were lies. Um, like crazy, extremely crazy lies, and a lot of other things. And I'm doing so well. I don't give a fuck. I'm kind of like free and I'm dancing and everything like that. But so there is, I have problems with terminology, and um, the narcissistic abuse space is full of terminology that I don't fucking get. Because it's like, well, so this word and this word means this and this word means this, but like, what are they referring to? So I don't fucking get it. And I keep listening, and I keep listening, and keep reading, and everything like that. But it's just like a blah 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 thing. But I think I finally matched the terminology, the piece of terminology, with the actual behavior. So the video was talking about the concept of narcissistic rage, and it kind of, and like the way Richard Brennan was describing it, it kind of helped me understand one situation with my narcissistic ex-friend, and some other things, some other habits, or like, I don't know, not habits, some other behaviors that he would display. So it's time to reveal the big secret. So I'm saying he, uh, but my narcissistic ex-friend claimed to be a transgender man. Um, so on paper, he was uh, like a transgender man that hasn't had any um, any work done. Duh. Uh, like transition socially, and not even that. No, it's just like nothing. So it's just like just the claim is there and the pronouns, yeah. And I'm gonna keep using the pronouns just out of like respect to the general movement or something, the general uh, idea of it. And I really don't like this topic, but at this point, I cannot even fucking avoid it because like it's fucking clear. So it's relevant because the action takes place at the gynecologist's office. Um, so my narcissistic ex-friend has claimed, among other things, that he has been like sexually assaulted multiple times, um, molested as a child, like sexual assault by several people at the same time, and then a few more separate sexual assaults and everything. Um, and he also claimed that he was like a progressive liberal person, again, like transgender. Um, so this kind of area, I presumed, based on the evidence, that it's something that could be discussed there. Um, so we did. I have also been have I been sexually assaulted? Well, there have been attempts, definitely. Um, and yeah, like childhood molestation and everything, and other like pretty nice little things. Uh, and while we were discussing it, I would branch out into like some other areas uh, where sexual assault and sexual violence like have their roots, let's say. And then my narcissistic ex-friend would become very fucking dismissive. So when I would talk about like gender discrimination or just sexism or uh, just harassment, so if it wasn't like juicy stories about uh, like rape and like people like fainting because of pain, like I'm being so mm, I'm having this tone because I now think that I cannot claim that all, I'm not sure, but like one of those stories is just definitely fiction, um, and it's just a lie, which I have like a list of stories that he told me, and one day, I don't know, a few months ago, it just clicked in my head that, oh shit, uh, they are structured the same way my narcissistic ex-friend writes his texts. And there are literary gaps in his texts. There are like first stylistic choices and like there is style. It's just there, and because I write so much and like I have read quite a lot of things. I kind of grasp the style and do analysis a lot. And I would say well. Uh, so when my narcissistic ex-friend tells a story in the text, there are a lot of things missing. So the things that are connected to the real world knowledge and like the real world reasons why people do things, real life things, they're just lacking there. I think he doesn't give a fuck about it. And but if he tried, he would fail. He doesn't know how like he cannot think of like that. Um, so people appear just because, and uh, people do things like the characters there. They just appear and they do things. It's like all very convenient, and there is no, like, oh, they just for some reason they were in one room. So which is like okay for a text, but then I clearly saw that like this and that story, they had the same structure there, and I was like, oh shoot, that is just just fiction. But anyway, um again, so when we weren't discussing the juicy rape, which was like one of the favorite topics, my narcissistic ex-friend was like very fucking shitty. um I would talk about like my personal experience uh, as a woman, uh, about like things in the workplace, like at school, doctors, just like people in general, the level of aggression that I have encountered from, I mean, from women too, but mostly from men directed at me because like I have the female bits and everything like that. And he just didn't, like, he couldn't care less. He didn't give a fuck. He would get angry and like also aggressive. And the line of reasoning reasoning there was that, well, you're just a pussy. He didn't say that to me. he was like, well, if it bothers anyone, they're just a pussy, and like if it happens to them, it's because they're a pussy, and it's actually because uh like I don't know, yeah, we'll come to that example, but like if it bothers them, then it's because they actually agree with it and they actually are like that, so they're even worse than the people who are doing the bad thing to them or whatever, and they should just like not, they don't like, no one is forcing them, they can do whatever they want, so they're choosing not to do what they want, so they're dumb and like and stupid cunts and just, yeah, like pussies, and uh basically just be cool, and like the gender discrimination and like the sexual violence is not going to be a part of your life, because like you're so fucking cool, and also like I'm not a girl, I'm not a fucking girl, so why should I care? I'm not a girl. That was really great, yeah. So that kind of, that was a bit contradictory for me. So a person who whined that much about, yeah, like sexual assault and like molestation and everything, uh, like you were a girl there. That's what yeah, perpetrators do to girls. Uh, with the same reasoning that they have like to do harassment or discrimination or whatever. But anyway, that was there. And I, being dumb and like having this repeatedly being thrown at me, kind of like made this conclusion in my head that, okay, so like I think that this is a problem, and I think it should be talked about, and I think like women and other people who have suffered this, they deserve compassion and they deserve change, and it is important. But this person will not participate in it, and they maybe have been lucky in some ways, so they haven't experienced it. And where they have, it's this only this thing that they whine about. Uh, so this they don't find important because they have these mechanisms to like combat it, and it has been working for them. So okay, let's leave it at that. But then my narcissistic ex-friend had to go to a gynecologist, and allegedly, I mean, I stopped believing anything this person has ever said. So maybe the gynecologist like looked at him wrong or something, or like didn't kiss his ass. But allegedly, while my narcissistic ex-friend was at the gynecologist's office, the gynecologist the gynecologist was like treating him um, in this slut shamingly like sexist manner, um, like implying that he was like sexually promiscuous and like dirty or something, and um, and yeah, he whined about it for days. He was so, I thought upset, but now I know it wasn't upset. But he was like distressed by it, and he wouldn't shut up. And one of the things that like boggled my mind, especially boggled my mind, was that so my narcissistic ex-friend was married to a guy. He's probably still currently milking for money, and like housing and like chores and everything basically, which happened via some trickery. Um, and he was like, how dare like this gynecologist call me a slut? I'm there with my husband, I have a husband. Why, how can it be that she thinks that I'm a slut or something? And I was listening to that, and I felt compassion for this to this individual, because like despite him always being very dismissive of this exact sort of thing, I'm like, I know that it is very unpleasant, it is very painful, and it is like harmful to be subjected to that. But I also was like, but you yourself were saying that you wouldn't even care about it if it ever happened, and it doesn't happen, and if it happens, it only happens to pussies, and like, and if it like affects you in any way, if it hurts you in any way, it's because you agree that it's bad, and like being sexually active is bad or something. So like, why are you were so like saying, you were saying, so like telling it, I'm confused. Like, you were saying it so often that like, oh, it's like so cool to be like a slut, like everyone should be a slut. And like if someone says that someone is a slut or something, does some slut shaming, like they should feel proud and everything. Why aren't you feeling proud? Like, why aren't you being like cool and shaking it off and like not even paying attention to it? You claimed that these are the mechanics that you use or like would use. Where are they? I was very confused by it. Uh, and again, like going back to the Richard Brennan's video, for me this was like a case of wild double standards. So like, if it's me, if someone says something bad to me, then of course it's important and it hurts and it's wrong and everything. I think my narcissistic ex-friend was like a covert narcissist who, like, yeah, like to whine a lot. But if it happens to someone else, and yeah, like whatever, not my fucking problem. I'm not some girl. But which still could be true. And just like, egocentrism and just not giving a shit about anyone else, and like always trying to draw attention to his own shit. Yeah, that all still applies. But through the video, I understood he wasn't upset, he wasn't hurt by it. He wasn't like appalled at the treatment. He didn't think that like this is unacceptable, that like a doctor would allegedly behave like that. It's not that it's like wrong to like, provide shitty medical care to like sexually promiscuous people, or people you think are sexually promiscuous based on whatever. So he wasn't, I don't know, he didn't feel again like in pain, or I don't know. He was raging. This was narcissistic rage. He was insulted, I think, first because his trick with like having a husband and like playing this out, like, oh, I'm like, I have everything, like I tick the boxes, so like do so I think he thought he has his ass fucking covered, like there's a husband and the husband is here with me, and like I'm this, and they're not buying it, and this is fucking insulting and maddening. I think that like some insects, the people, I created this amazing act for them, I ticked their stupid boxes, and they are not buying it, they're not behaving the way they should. This one, and just like I also think, just like this being defied allegedly by this woman, being disrespected, and like, yeah, remember the saying of it only happens to like pussies, essentially. So I, this amazing individual, am being treated, how dare they, like some kind of pussy. I'm not a pussy, by these pieces of shit, garbage. And it was like the rage was expressed in this like vulnerable, whiny way, I'm like, oh, I'm such a victim. It was the biggest insult and the big, like, I am the most hurt and the most discriminated against, and the doctors, they just they torture me my whole life, and it should, like, everything should be changed because it happened to me and everything like that. He ended up filing a complaint against that gynecologist, and like being resentful that he personally had to do that. I don't know, like, I don't really understand who, in his opinion, had to do that, but like someone else, because of course it's not his fucking job. He is the best ever, and everyone else is shit, so it's the shit's job to do that. But yeah, with this complaint, and with him like fuming, but in this weird, like, whiny, teary way, I fucking now understand this was like narcissistic injury. I think based on this, yeah, like the gynecologist didn't buy the act, uh, didn't behave in this like way that my narcissistic ex-friend designed, that thinking that people should obey these rules, and just like being disrespected or whatever, treated like some dumb cunts who are not cool are treated. This caused narcissistic injury, and that caused the narcissistic rage, and that was rage. That was like fucking anger. And through that, I fucking, it was very noticeable that like my narcissistic ex friend like really considered himself like the center of the universe, and like to be the best person ever, like the most right, the most everything. But at every individual instance of interaction, I would fail to understand the roles that he would assign to everyone else. So I didn't agree with that, and I confronted him on that front a lot of times about this. Oh, I'm the coolest ever, because now you're just like everybody else. So it seemed to me that there was this structure that, like, yeah, he's the best, and all the other people are just like people. They're like okayish. They're like sometimes shitty, sometimes not. But now I'm looking at this situation, and I'm feeling this like narcissistic rage idea here, and like, nah, the concept there is like, I am the best, and everyone else, because they are not the best, they're not the most right, the most everything, they are shit, they are absolute nothing. There is so much contempt, and like he despises everyone, and that is why it was so maddening for him. Richard Grennan also has this concept, and I think he gets heat for it, but I kind of think he is onto something. So this covert vulnerable narcissism, some people like put it in the separate category, but he says it's like it really depends on the circumstances. So like if the narcissist is getting their way, and if the world treats them as someone cool and someone like beautiful, rich, powerful, and everything, then they're like elated, and they're like on top of the game, and they're grandiose. But if the world doesn't agree with this assessment that they have of themselves, and if the world doesn't treat them like that, they kind of feel down, and they have to use these more covert tactics, like be whiny and victimy and everything. And I think like, yeah, I could see that. And I also think that it fucking like angers them, like it did, like it angers and angered my friend so much, that he, the coolest person who deserves everything, the moment he even like wishes for it, before he wishes for it, like everyone should like comply and praise him. So like the level of the delusion of that like grandiosity is insane there. But then these maggots, they're so dumb that they fail to understand how fucking amazing he is, like that he's the best, and it angers him, and that he has to pretend to be like crippled and weak and like in pain and sick and like poorly and like incapable, which he does. I also fucking understood that he like literally pretended to like faint, to have pains, to be sick, and when he was sick he would exaggerate it to like 400%, and there would be like calling the doctors in, and like these eyes are like, oh, they're like doing something to me. The fucking theater of it. It wasn't just a weird face that I was like, that like weird. My friend has such a weird face, but like, okay, people can be weird. No, it's because this is a fucking theatrical act. But anyway, so my friend, my narcissistic ex-friend, understanding that he's forced to use this persona of this like victim is snivelly, like crippled, like disabled, kind of so poor, and like everything is this persona. I think it was also offending him at the same time that he has to perform this shit, because obviously he despises like the people who are like poor and sick and disabled, and like I don't know, they have some kind of problems. There is no care about them too, obviously. I'm just sitting in this little house of understanding, like how deep that contempt is, and like how insane this grandiosity, like this entitlement is. It's like it's absolute. It's really hard to grasp, and I have it, like I have this understanding, and in my head I have the concept, but I don't always have the meat of it. And now I am experiencing it. It's like it's fucking wild, and I think it's like completely impenetrable. But one more thing is that this feeling of contempt and this internal space of like really believing that you are objectively the best, this real like, and you're entitled to everything. I'm just using the terminology here. I mean, I myself, I guess, would use different words, but because I'm using the video as a jumping off point, I will, like, my brain will definitely go through the calculations and apply it to other situations, and it has already, and it was like he would constantly talk about how he hasn't ever worked in his life. And there was always this like weird sense of happiness in it, like I have never worked, as if like he was like proud of it, or as if it's an achievement, yeah, like something like this. So this was like the vibe I was getting off of it, and it felt weird, like it's not an achievement, just a circumstance of privilege in a way. Or again, there is a downside to it. But yeah, that was he was very dismissive and aggressive and unpleasant to people who work, which is like basically everyone, and to people who support him financially via work. He would fucking constantly shit on them and on me, including me. And there was this undercurrent of like, I remember like having discussions with him and like trying to understand the logic of it. There's no logic, but again, there was this undercurrent of like, if you're working, you're dumb. Only shit should work. And we cool people, we don't have to. Like, work is not necessary. I'm like, what do you fucking mean? Like, where do you get the shit? Like, is it given? Like, the shitty people that have to work and like provide stuff for you because you're great, and apparently, like, you, me, is also great. Uh, are also great, and like the people you've chosen are also great. I mean, okay, if you're making this insane claim, how do you go about it? Like, where are the shitty people that should work and provide for us? Can you please like tell me where you get them? Like where I can get them, where this other person should get them? Because I haven't seen them like being handed out. And like, you're very happy to say that like, no, I don't have to work, and like I haven't worked, but like, you're eating and you're shitting and you're wearing clothes and you're using gadgets. This is money. You used money for that, and this money came into your life only because someone did some job, and it was the person you're living with and the person that you're friends with. Like, I was literally like trying to understand, like it felt that he really didn't understand that like things cost money. And that, yeah, like servants and slaves are not freely given to the citizens of Rome. um, and no one is a citizen of Rome. But now, again, with this framework, with this house of contempt and rage, there was no logic in it. It wasn't a worldview like that. It wasn't like a coherent narrative that like he observed it and decided this works. So you don't have to work because there are shitty people who have to work because you're good and they're bad. So, and they will do the work and you don't have to. So that wasn't an observation. That wasn't like a conclusion, a logical conclusion. That was the expression of this contemptuous perception of himself and of everyone else as being, yeah, trash and scum. And he was like proud of it because the people who work are like not they're doing what they don't want to do. Either they're doing what they don't want to do, which is dumb, and they deserve it, whatever comes their way, or they actually want to do that. That's even worse. So they were stupid and they deserve nothing and they deserve the punishment. He was being, yeah, he was just being fucking contemptuous there. And there was no logic about how the world works, and like no ideas about how the world works. It was just and also the level of the again, one thing I kind of agree with Richard Brennan on is that it is kind of psychotic. Not in the sense that they're not responsible for their bullshit, because yeah, they are, but there is such a disconnect from reality that they are kind of delusional and psychotic. Where was I going with it? Oh yeah, so I don't think this person realized that he was, and I mean, I don't think he can realize that he was talking to like a separate being. When he was talking to me, he was talking to a separate being that actually does perform work. Um, it's all in this fucking chamber of his own mind. And there is like this voice. And the words I'm saying, like the arguments that I'm giving, that, like, the slaves are not really given. The words are translated, like the actual arguments, the things that a normal person should think about, they're translated into just, well, you're wrong. And then this is a weird voice in his head, and then it causes this, like, no, I'm not, because, like, if I'm wrong, I'm the worst, I'm the shit, no, I'm the best. And he would just argue with that, with this like weird reflection, completely distorted of what I was saying, which is just like, what is there anyway in this weird, dumb little circle of like sphere of his mind? It's just there, like, constant idea that, well, you're wrong, you're bad, So this, oh, fuck. I was trying to apply his like logic to, like, what are you actually saying? Like, you are using the money that like the person you live with earns by working, and you're fucking happy, like you like all this shiny stuff that you buy using this money, but at the same time, simultaneously, you're shitting on people who work, like, and saying that they're worst, and like only the bad people work and they're dumb and stupid. And I do the same. Like, you're telling this to me, like the person who's talking to me is absolute nothing. You know what? Any person who's talking to me is like pure garbage. That's kind of like, it's a bit of contradictory, like, it's bound not to be well received. There was I was like putting these ideas forth with like, but how are you saying this? Like, where is the, how do you reconcile it, or like, and also, if you really think that this is like the way to go, and you would advise it, like you would give this advice to people you're talking to, like essentially anyone, because he will tell this to anyone he's talking to, that like cool people shouldn't work. How should it look in reality? Like, what do you, for example, if I agree with you now, what do you expect me to do? Like, quit my job and sit here and like do this? Like, where is my shitty person who is gonna provide for me? And then, like, God will give it to me. Like, you're gonna give it to me? You're not gonna give to me anything. You're fucking greedy and like you don't have anything. At this point, he would also like get snivelly and upset, and like, oh, but it's unfair that you don't get your own little slave or something. But you should. And I'm like, how do you do you really expect it to work in reality? This weird idea of yours that like it will not work because there are no people given to anyone that perform the labor for them. How do you expect the world to run if all the people you deem cool don't have to do anything, and they will, presumably, you're claiming, get shit for free? How do you expect to like get your pizza delivered? No one will do that. So yeah, it was like, that was me trying to understand it. And God, did I use fucking like brain power and my life energy on that, and I shouldn't have. Because he wasn't talking to me. He wasn't talking to anyone alive. It was just this, and it's a tiny dumb space of his like ego. And yeah, it's just the perception of himself. And it was basically this like 90s like, early 2000s computer game battle, be like pim 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 pim, well, you're wrong, no I'm right. That's it. That's fucking it. And like that's the level of complete detachment from reality, and just like utter contempt for everyone, for like no one, because there is no one. But it is expressed onto real people. Well, anyway, this was a hell of a ride. I think I've expressed myself. So that's it.